what is the significance of those chromosomes of that chromosome 2 being fused?
The significance is it gives us our humanness. If we didn't have chromosome 2, you wouldn't have the neocortex. You wouldn't have sympathy, empathy, compassion. You wouldn't have the ability to self-regulate your own biology. And if that was the only one, you could say maybe it's weird, but maybe it's a fluke. But it wasn't the only one. Chromosome number 7. So as a musician, I'm a musician when I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always, chimpanzees, they share 98% of our DNA. I mean, that's a mind blower, 98%. And so I've always wondered, why can't a chimpanzee sing? You're never going to hear a chimpanzee sing in Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. Or if you ever do, shoot me a text because I want to see that. And the question is why? And the answer is because chromosome 7 was stable in all primates for about 175 million years. Stable. All right. All of a sudden, 2 little genes, there was this little switch of these 2 genes that connected our tongue and our jaw and the part of our brain that allows us complex speech and the ability to sing. And guess, just take a wild guess. When do you think that happened?
No idea.
200,000 years ago.
200,000 years ago.
Exactly the same time chromosome 2 was being fused, exactly the time that we appeared on Earth. What are the odds of chromosome 2 being fused and chromosome 7 happening all at the same time? And the odds are astronomically small because the odds of our genome forming the way it formed is 1 in 10 to the 600th.
What is the conventional explanation for this?
Darwin's theory of evolution suggests that we are the product of a long, slow, gradual process over a long period of time through what is called random mutations. Colloquially, we call it lucky biology.
Okay.
It's kind of like you've referred to Goldilocks conditions on Earth. It's the equivalent of Goldilocks. Okay. What are the chances that just the right genes, just the right chromosomes came together in just the right time, to give us our humanness? So you see these kinds of mutations, and scientists say, I mean, this isn't my opinion. This is in those technical, there's a paper from Proceedings National Academy of Sciences. The volume is called Genetics. It says this cannot happen under natural circumstances. Something happened 200,000 years ago to give us our humanness, and we appeared. And now here's the mind blower. 200,000 years later, now we can pull the DNA out of the fossilized remains of ancient forms of life. It used to be science fiction. Jurassic Park was based on the science fiction that they pulled the DNA out of dinosaur bones and then they brought the dinosaurs to life. They reconstituted them. To the best of my knowledge, we have not reconstituted any forms of life. But in the basement of the Pentagon, somebody, my chair squeaking, somebody up there is doing it. But what we can do, this is what we can do. We can pull that DNA and build a genome, a printout of that genome. And so now we can compare our genome today to the genome of the forms of life that Darwin's theory of evolution says we descended from, and the DNA says we didn't descend from them. We did not descend from Australopithecus. We didn't, Lucy, we didn't descend from Neanderthal. Now, if you do a DNA test for your ancestry, a lot of people will say, well, I've got Neanderthal DNA, and more in Northern Europe. You see that a lot in the UK. And it even proves the point, because we shared the earth with Neanderthal. We actually interbred. They say we probably had boyfriends and girlfriends, Neanderthal boyfriends and girlfriends. Right. We shared the earth with them. We could not have descended from them. So the point is, we don't know where we came from.
So you're saying because we interbred with them, that's why it shows up.
Theory of evolution says that we are the product of this long, slow, gradual process. Yeah. A lot of people don't know there was a corollary to Darwin's theory, put forth by another scientist at the time, that says that the corollary says nature never over-endows. So the problem is we are all over-endowed, and people love to hear that. But what it means is that an organism will only develop the characteristics it needs when nature puts the demand on the organism for it. So, for example, adaptation. The studies of moths in London during the industrial age, the coal fire plants. The moths had white feathers. They'd be against white buildings, and that would camouflage them from the birds, and the birds couldn't get them. Once the coal fire plant started, all the buildings were covered with soot, and they turned black. And the white moths stood out like a sore thumb, and the birds were picking them off right and left. And they quickly adapted to turn the color of their wings black so that they would blend in with the soot. That's an example of nature giving a capability because the demand is there for survival.
Right.
The problem is, Danny, that we showed up 200,000 years ago with a genome that is light years beyond what we needed for simple survival 200,000 years ago, with capabilities that were only, some of them we're only beginning to understand, extended neural networks that allow us to create heart-brain coherence, for example, that open the door to so many human potentials, the ability to self-regulate our own. We're the only form of life that can, at will, on demand, when we choose, sit down in a moment in time and say, in this moment, I choose to strengthen my immune system. I choose to create resilience to the changes of my life. I choose to create stronger heart rate variability. I choose to create super memory, super cognition. There are over 1,300 positive biological changes that we consciously have the ability. No other form of life can do that. And it's because of what happened 200,000 years ago. So as a scientist, I have to be careful. The evidence strongly suggests intervention of some kind. It doesn't say who or what, but this did not happen naturally. Now, my own personal feelings when I read the ancient texts and I visit all these ancient cultures, what's so interesting, not one of the ancient traditions I've ever been with, the Andes in southern Peru and the shamans in the Yucatan and Nepal and India and the monks and nuns in Tibet, Bedouin in Africa, none of them say that we're the product of a long, slow, gradual process of random mutations. Every single one, bar none, says that we're the product of an intentional act and that we are part of a greater community, whatever we want to call that. So now some people say, now you're talking about aliens, and other people say, well, you're talking about angels and demons, and other people say, well, you're talking about time travelers and advanced civilization. We have different ways of describing, but the science is telling us we're not the product of random, just lucky biology.
Yeah.